Happy video day, guys. Christina, Brooke here. Today we are doing my ranking video of all of my Natasha Denona palettes. I hope I pulled them all out, but I believe that I did because my drawer is basically empty right now because you guys know I own so much Natasha Denona. I think I pulled out every palette that I actually own. Today I'm ranking them for you guys. We've got minis, we have the mid-size, we have the midi, we've got the large palettes. I mean, I've got so many things sitting here in front of my desk. I hope I do this justice and I hope I get this right because I am looking at a lot of palettes right now. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna be telling you guys my least favorite to my absolute favorite Natasha Denona palette. So if you guys are excited, don't forget to go ahead and hit subscribe. If you haven't heard the awesome news, next year I am going to be continuing my Buying Everything Natasha Denona for 2022. So if you really like Natasha Denona, this is probably the channel that you want to subscribe to because you will be seeing every single one of her new releases on the channel, as well as little sneak peek gossips that people tell me about that I will tell you guys so that we can get really excited for her new launches. All right, guys, so we've got a lot of palettes here. I really hope I put this in a good order, but let's start off with my least favorite Natasha Denona palette, and it is this one right here. This is called the Jubilee palette, and it came in my BoxyCharm. Now, the reason that this one is on the bottom of the totem pole is because 4 of these shades are like okay. Also, the color combinations in here is just a little bit difficult for me to use. It's not like a really cohesive palette in my opinion. It's definitely not a bad palette. It's just not cohesive to me. It's just something that I don't tend to grab for. I literally probably have not used this since I got it in BoxyCharm and used it. So it's kind of like that type of palette to me. Not inspired, just not really into it. So that would definitely be my least favorite out of my collection from Natasha. Okay, so then the next one, I'm gonna put this one. So this was a holiday release from her. This was the eyeshadow palette 5. This was in Aries. The reason this one is so low is because this is like the same problem. I don't use this one, okay? Like it's just not a color combination that I love. You guys know I'm not a huge fan of blues with red. And I should have known this, but I didn't back then. When I bought this, I thought that I would actually get a lot of use out of it, and I find myself not grabbing it because when I do like these more red tones, I just don't like the blue with it, and sometimes I want to use the blue. I tend to not be happy with the looks. It's not like the colors in here are bad, like they're not. It's just like one of those palettes I would like to pull out the colors and mix it with something else. Like, I don't know. All right, so let's keep on going and we're gonna talk about a midi now because there is a midi pretty low on my list, and that is Zendo. So Zendo from Natasha is pretty low down there, and it's not really like formula wise. It's not, well, the formula isn't like as phenomenal as some of the other palettes from Natasha. Let's be honest. I feel like some of these shades were a little bit subdued. Like she didn't put so much impact into them. But then there's a problem with color story for me. I don't love the ways that reds and blues look together. And even though you can kind of split this in 2 sections and just use this side or use that side, I just feel like every time I use this, there's just something missing. Like it's almost like it just didn't do it for me, and because of that, that's why it's so low, because if I don't feel myself wanting to grab something, there has to be something wrong. All right, so now let's throw this guy here. So this is the Mini Tropic. So I will say that I have created some really cool looks with Mini Tropic. It has interesting shades in it, but now because of Circle Loco, it's almost like, do I even really need you? Circle Loco is so cool to me. It's an interesting palette. This shade right here is terrible. So that's probably why it's so low, because I can't use this. It's like dried out. It doesn't come out on your lids. It doesn't blend. It's the weirdest shade ever. So it's kind of low because it's not used very often. When it is used, I can't use every shade, and I always want to use this shade because it's such a beautiful blue, but like there's nothing, like it has no impact. All right, so next on the list is this guy. So this was the Peak palette in BoxyCharm. So I don't know if you guys, if you didn't have BoxyCharm, you didn't get this, but this was what year was this? Was it last year? I don't even know. Did I have BoxyCharm last year? I don't know, but I got this in a boxy charm. It was one of my last boxy charms that actually came. And I will say, to be honest, really not a bad palette. Very pretty tones in here, blends pretty well. I created some really pretty looks with it. The only thing is that for some reason I tend to not grab it as much. It's pretty. There was something a little off with it, just something a little off. Now, there's something coming that if you guys haven't seen this video right here, there's something coming that I think looks kind of similar to this concept. However, I like the shades of the new one a lot better. So this one is down here because I just don't tend to use it that often. All right, so let's talk about a big size palette that is low for me. And now this one, this is just based off of color concept. For me, Lila has to go here because I don't love the Lila color story. It's just not a color story I tend to use very often. I'm just not really somebody who really loves purples. So when I saw that this was like a purpley palette, it wasn't like I was obsessed with it. I also don't like that there's a lot of pinks in it. I'm not a huge pink person. So it's just not a color story that I personally like. You know, we don't all love the same exact thing. So from this point on, I feel like everything's just really, really good, that it's really hard for me to rank this. But we're gonna try to do this the best that I can. So I'm gonna throw this one here. So this is Mini Lila. Now, just like the original one, purples, just not colors that I grab very often. But I will say, in my opinion, it's a nice palette, nice color story. Just don't use it very often, but definitely pretty. This is hard. Okay, so let's throw this guy here. So now let's put this one here. This is Metropolis. Okay, so this is a really cool palette. I find it a little bit difficult though. I don't know, like something about it's just a little bit difficult. It's really, really pretty, and it's kind of like you just have to selectively use it because it can be a little overwhelming. Some of the colors pull a little bit yellowy, and I don't love the way that yellowy tones look on me. I guess I like them a little bit cooler, or I like them to be warm but without that yellow. And I feel like this went pretty yellow. So I mean, I have a lot of golds in there, a lot of yellow golds, and a lot of these orangey shades that pull a little bit yellower. I think that's the problem with it. Somebody said once that they look sickly when they use Metropolis, and I kind of understand that concept. Some of the shades in there have like a tone to them that can look a little off. So some of the palette is beautiful, some I feel is a little off. Like that's just my opinion on it. The next one I'm gonna put is this one. This is the Mini Sunset. Now, this one's tricky because the formula of this one is not very good, but I like the colors of it. So even though the formula doesn't live up to Natasha Denona standards, it's not like it's a horrible formula. You know, like the formula blends well, it looks nice on the lids. It's just not Natasha Denona formula for me. So I don't love the formula of this guy, but I like the looks that I come out with, and I really like the color story. So I definitely would put this here just because if you want like a real sunsetty eye, this does it. And it gives you a really pretty sunsetty eye. You're just not gonna get your Natasha Denona fix of her formula out of that palette, but definitely you'll get something very pretty. Oh, this is hard. So the next one is gonna be Mini Xenon, okay? So Mini Xenon is an interesting concept palette. I really like the gray to black. The only thing is that when I do like these smoky eyes, I like to go dark brown to black, not really gray to black. Like this is a kind of look, and I've seen people do this type of like grayish concept with smoky eyes, and it looks nice. I think on very fair skin, it looks the best. I think as your skin gets a little warmer, these type of ashy gray shades that have a little bit blue in it, don't look as great on warmer skin. My opinion only. I think when you're doing a smoky eye with warmer skin tones, I like the way the brown transition looks into the black. But anyway, so that's why this one's lower, because it's a really pretty palette, and I do come out with some awesome looks, and I have come out with some awesome looks for it, but it's specific. It's a specific look. Like to me, it's like a New Year's. It's like that sexy, seductive with woof, very black with a little bit of shine looks. And I don't do those looks very often, so. All right, so next we're gonna throw, this is gonna get very hard for me. So next we're gonna put this guy. So this is Safari. I really like Safari. Safari is a really, really great palette. I've used it quite a lot. I think the only thing with Safari is that since it's a whole matte palette, it is limiting. You know, you only got matte shades to work with, and if you don't want to do a whole matte eye, you are going to have to jump into something with a metallic, and that's the only reason it's there, because honestly, it's a beautiful palette. I really, really like using it, and this is getting very difficult because I really like everything that I'm going to show you guys right now. I think what I'll do now is I'm going to throw Mini Metropolis. So the reason Mini Metropolis is ahead of Big Metropolis is because I like the deep tiki type of brown shade that she included in this one. It didn't go in that yellowy orangey direction that I don't love about Metropolis. This actually gave me prettier looks, I feel. I feel like they got some of the best standout shades from Metropolis, put them in here, and put two shades that I like the way they work better with the shades than the shades that I got in the original palette. So I actually like the mini a little bit more than I like the large palette, which is weird. I'm gonna put this one here. This is the Midi Bronze. So now Midi Bronze is also really nice, really pretty bronze looks you can do with this. I feel like the looks that I have created have been really, really pretty. I really don't have any complaints about this palette. It's just a really cool palette. I think I like every single one that's coming up. It's just maybe it's not like the most unique color story, you know? And there's a specific look you create with this, like a very specific bronze look. And that's exactly what it does. So it's a really pretty palette. Then I think I'm gonna throw this one. So this is the Mini Love. I actually really enjoyed Mini Love, because the purples in here are my kind of purples. They're muted purples, they're cool purples, they're cool purples. I don't know, I just really like this kind of purple. This is my kind of purple. I don't really love like the Barney purple, I tell you, like that really strong purple that's just too much for me. These muted shades, these are like the vibe that I love. I don't love the pink, but I really like the palette. So it's a very pretty, very me kind of palette. This is going to get very difficult at this time. So then I'm going to throw this one, Triochrome. So believe it or not, I actually have this new love for Triochrome. I think Triochrome's actually kind of cool. Now, the only thing with Triochrome is that these shades here, they're just not very shifty, but I don't care about that. I've said that before because I don't really love my shades to shift too much. I mean, like I've got a few Pat McGrath ones that do that, and damn, and man, do they shift. Like, woof, they shift so much. It looks cool. I'm not going to lie. I did a look the other day with the Utopian one. Was it Utopian? I think it was. And the shift was really cool. But it's specific, you know, because like I was taking photos with it, and then like on one eye I looked like I had green, and on the other eye I looked a little pink. So it's like a little bit hard to always use. It's just specific when you want to use a shifty shade like this. So I really like this one because the shades don't shift that much. But that's just me. And I also love the introduction of like the green concept. I want more green, but I want the green like this. You know, I want this green. But I really, really like the concept of this one. I thought it was a cool palette. It was just cool. It was different, you know? I actually really like this one. So this is Sunrise. I think Sunrise gave you very specific looks, but I like the concept of sunrise versus sunset. So sunset eyes, you're getting the reds and the dark browns. And this one, you got a little bit more of like the plummy pinks. Like, it's not like those bright pinks, but it's like very interesting. It really does create a look that if you look at a sunrise, it looks like this. I think that this was a beautiful concept palette, and really the colors in here create such amazing looks. One of the things that I really liked about this palette too is the variation. Like I was able to do very light looks that did not go in that sunrise direction, or deep looks that went in the sunrise, and then you got some purples to like really change up the look. I thought it was a really well thought out universal palette. Really actually enjoy that one a lot. Circo Loco. So now Circo Loco is completely insane, and I think that the reason it's so high up here is because it's so insane. Like, it's like I don't have anything as cuckoo as this. Like, this is literally a circus, but it's so fun to use. Like, when I use this palette, I come up with really fun looks, and the pigment and the, oh my god, it's just like, it's so interesting. Now, I can't say like this is something I would wear every day. I mean, like Christina would not wear this every day. Like, it's just not my vibe. But when I do pull it out to do some like really fun, extravagant looks, I cannot say that I have another palette in my collection that I would want to pick over this one for color. So that's why it's so high up there. All right, so I'm gonna put This one here, Biba. So I'm actually really liking Biba a lot. I've used Biba quite a lot lately. It's just a very easy to use palette. I love the fact she put like those peachy tones with the browns. That's very me. It's a very nice, subtle look that you can do with the eyes, but then you can vamp it up a little bit. I feel like there's different directions you can go in here. You know, you can go vampy with the dark colors and do something a little bit darker. Here you can do a smoky eye. You could also do a very light and airy look. You even have like a little bit of like the yellowy tone, so you could do it with the browns and create something a little bit smoky that way. Very versatile palette, very beautiful palette. I really love the color selection in there. It's also a really, really big hit for me. Okay, so I think we're getting down to the wire of my favorite ones, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put, yeah, I think I'm gonna put this one here, Mini Retro. This is newer to my collection, and I actually really like the palette. I've come out with some really pretty looks with it. But if you guys haven't seen my 5-day challenge, I will try to link it up here. It'll be in the description box. I used this for 5 days straight, and the only thing I can say is that your looks end up looking very similar. Like, there's only so much you can do with this palette. But that being said, I'm a big fan of like these type of mauvey burgundy-ish shades. I don't really like when they go too purple or too red, but when they stick in this burgundy direction, I do like the way that they look, and I created some beautiful looks with this palette. It wasn't like I created that many different looks, but the looks that I created were so, so, so pretty. All right, so I'm gonna put this one here. This is Mini Glam. So I'm gonna put this one here, Mini Glam. Mini Glam is a beautiful palette, and like I told you guys, and I've said this before, this is one of those palettes I can take it with me on vacation, just throw it in my bag, and I will feel like I can get a lot of looks out of it. Like, it's just universally easy to use, very pretty. I love the looks I create with it. It's nothing like spectacular, but man, the formula is beautiful and the looks are great. So that's really all you need from an eyeshadow palette, right? All right, this is hard. This is so hard. Okay, so this is where I'm gonna put this one, Mini Zendo. I was a huge fan of this color story, still am. I have created such pretty looks with this, such pretty looks. There's nothing like this silver. It's like such a beautiful silver. I love the way it looks with the pinks. I think that this was such a well thought out palette that I really wanted the big one to look just like this, because I just love this color story. It was so unique, so pretty, so eye-catching. The looks were incredible. I really like the quality. I think that that's like one of those palettes you add and then you put on your lids and you're just like, wow, this is different. I really like this. We're down to the wire. I've got 3 palettes in front of me. I'm having a really hard time deciding the order that I'm gonna put these. I'm gonna put Mini Retro here. It's gone a little down on my list since the last time, and that's because 5 shades. Love the looks, but I'm starting to get spoiled with Natasha and I want to do more. And also, like, you know, once you created all the looks you can out of a mini, you're like, I need more. So I am crossing my fingers that the new retro palette that's coming out in 2022 looks like this. It's gonna give me some mossy greens that are gonna knock my socks off, and it will be the palette of the year next year. Like, that is my dream. That is my dream. Okay? You hear me? Natasha Denona gods, that's my dream. Down to the wire, 2 favorite palettes. I'm gonna put the gold here. So gold is very ugly inside. I'm so sorry, but I love this gold palette, okay? I don't love the blues in here. You guys know I'm not a huge blue girl, but you know, I don't hardly use the blues. But the reason I love this palette is every look that I create with this, I just think is so gorgeous. It's like one of those palettes, it doesn't even look like it's gonna be that good, but then it's so good, so blendable, beautiful eye looks. I want to see what the mini gold is gonna look like. I hope she doesn't put the blues in there, but something, or the yellow golds. I'm done with yellow gold, but every single other shade, there's a lot of champagne-y golds in here. The browns are almost like perfection, but I will tell you, I've gone to events, I've picked this palette. I feel like every time I have something going on, I just grab this palette and I just love the looks. A lot of beautiful brown smoky eyes. So yes, love the palette. But my favorite palette from Natasha right now is this one, the Glam. I don't know what it is about this palette that's so amazing, but it really is. It is a cool tone palette, which kind of shocks me a little bit because when it comes to brownish tones, I usually like warmer colors. But I think it's between the silvers and just the shade selections in here, I have created some gorgeous looks. Like this one is on top of the gold palette because lately I've been wanting to use this one over the gold palette because I like some of the golds in here just a tad bit more than the gold palette because these go a little bit more champagne-y. Look at that. They're not yellow, you know, like they're so pretty. So I honestly love this palette. It's my favorite from Natasha so far, and I think it's gorgeous, like literally gorgeous. So that is my ranking. Woof, that was a lot. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, but let me know down below what is your favorite Natasha palette. I told you guys I don't own them all, but these are my favorites, and I really, really like them. I think I like every single one, though. Like, I really love Natasha, so. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Leave your comments down below. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.